To the co-main event of the evening and a number one contender fight in the heavyweight division.
What are you
We have
talking about?
we have the number one contender at heavyweight, Tom. I'm on a 2-fight win streak. Let's go crazy, Aspinall, taking on the number 4 guy, a guy that was just brutally KO'd by a bum in Sergey Pavlovich. He stops one-dimensional Almeida, who was a former 205-pounder. He stops him via elbows to the back of the head as if the guy's never fought before and just doesn't know to move his head. We have a huge one here, folks. And Mr. Aspinall coming in as a huge favorite, almost a 4-1 favorite in this one, in a fight that he should favor him. What is your take on this number one contender fight at the heavyweight division, Hebs? So I would say it's a chance to get to fight Jon Jones, but I'm starting to believe that the UFC is going to make the biggest fight of the year in Jon Jones versus Alex Poatam if Jon gets by Stipe in November.
Yeah, well, I don't think I got a lot to unpack here. First of all, I know you're a guy who loves the rankings. You got very upset at me. You kept using a couple of weeks ago. You kept saying, "Wait, is that what it says on like UFC.com? Is that what it says on UFC?" So to be clear, does it say is Tom Aspinall the number one contender?
Yes, he is.
Okay, sorry. I think we're looking at a different thing here, so I must be wrong. But doesn't matter, right? And also, what are you talking about? You think Pereira? What is that thing on his shoulder, dude?
What does it say above his head? I can't get it to load in, but it says.
What does it say on his shoulder?
On his shoulder, it's some tattoo. I don't know what
the other one, dude. He has cool tattoos, dude.
Oh, he's got tattoos on. He has tattoos on both. I can't seem to see.
Yeah, why can't you see the other one? What's covering it?
Oh, wait. Oh, it's the thing that Jon Jones has about 30 of in his house from all his defenses in his career.
Crack?
Oh.
Yeah, nice. Well, so you admit that he has one too. I don't know.
Actually, my bad. Jon doesn't have any of those. That's an interim title. Jon has real championship.
Nice. Let's double back. We'll cut that. We'll cut that out. It's all right. No worries.
Do not cut that out, bro. That's good stuff. Don't cut that
out. Definitely cut it out. No, dude. So another thing. I mean, if you think Pereira versus Jones is happening, I mean, that's obviously not happening. But what is happening is the real heavyweight title, the champion of the world, Tom Aspinall, the baddest man on the planet, the Englishman in New York. He's headed back home to fight in front of his hometown fans. I'm very excited for my guy, Tom Aspinall. Obviously been showing him a lot of love recently. Big fan of his, but he fights Curtis Blades, the one L on his resume, I believe, right? And you're happy to see these guys dance again, as I said earlier. Like, anytime you lose in that fashion, especially at the way beginning of a fight, right? It's different if you get an injury in like the second or third round, which ends it. You never want to see one of these fights end on an injury like that. But 15 seconds into the fight, like the second exchange, a very tough way to go out. Since that fight, we've seen the rise of Tom Aspinall, right? He was a very, very hot prospect in that division. He looked like, the new age heavyweight, right? Like a more athletic build, a guy who probably should be playing defensive end if he was born in the States. Very, very fast, moves like a middleweight, kind of him and Cyril Gane and low-key Chris Daukaus. We're going to forget about him. But these guys were all coming up at the same time, much faster, not these big, blobby, disgusting heavyweights that you usually see. Again, a guy who's really lived up to the hype. I remember him as Darren Till's sparring partner. That's how I remember hearing about this guy when Darren Till was on top of the world. They said they got this young up-and-coming heavyweight who's very fast. He's very well-rounded, moves like a middleweight. I remember seeing them spar. Crazy how the different directions those guys have got. Darren Till's like calling out Jake Paul now and getting no response, and this guy is the heavyweight champion of the UFC. So pretty big difference there. He's going against Curtis Blades, a guy I didn't watch the whole. I was kind of streaming the Almeida fight on my phone. I was at a wedding and I wasn't really exactly focused there. Actually, shout out to a friend of the program, Luke Pettibon. I think it was on his phone, or Thomas Grippo. A couple shout outs there, but I wasn't exactly paying attention. Dude, Almeida took him down 7 times in a round and a half. Like, if Blades is this, what's the path to victory here for Curtis Blades? Everyone says, right, he's going to try to take him down. I don't think that's going to be able to happen. Tom Aspinall is a great wrestler. We haven't seen it all too much. I mean, actually, that's not true. We've seen him wrestle plenty in the UFC. He has put some people away with his hands recently, but I don't think Blades is just going to be able to take this guy down. And on the feet, I think a lot's changed in the last 2 years since the last time these guys have fought. Tom Aspinall seems as confident as ever. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for this guy, man. And we've seen Blades also a guy who's fallen in love with his hands, the dominant wrestler in the heavyweight division forever. And some of his more recent fights, speaking of Chris Daukaus, sorry, you're going to get hate. Remember when he just stood in trade with Chris Daukaus? He put him away. He's had some other fights where he's kind of not been so eager to shoot the takedown. Same thing against Sergey Pavlovich last year, and then he ended up getting clipped. But yeah, so I don't really know what Blades has for him, but shout out to Tom Aspinall for the 8th time today, dude. The guy did not have to take this fight. He has the interim belt. The interim belt is supposed to, again, you paying attention here? Because I got something this is a lesson to you. I can turn the camera off, but the interim championship, the interim belt, what that is, it's a Wonka ticket. It's the number one. You have the next shot at the title. It means there's something odd, usually an injury going on in the real title. So like you are next in line. You don't have to fight. You don't have to defend the interim belt, obviously. And unless you're Tony Ferguson and you trip over a wire, you're next. And that interim belt is not going anywhere. Tom Aspinall says, actually, I'm the baddest man in the world, so I'll fight anyone, anytime, any place. So, and I want to fight back home in front of my home fans. So he puts the interim belt on the line for absolutely no reason against a guy who beat him. So talk about a badass move. That's what you do. That's what champions do. They don't go running. They don't go hiding under the UFC octagon for 8 hours when you're trying to avoid a piss test. They don't do who knows what else. And again, regardless of what goes on with the actual belt, I think either of those guys are probably going to retire. And I could see that happening. So this could be, I know we're going to go back and forth about how legit this title is, but it very well could be for the real belt. Because even if it says interim for the next couple months, if Jon Jones wins and he retires, the interim champ just gets elevated to the real champ. So like this could very well be for the real belt. It is for the real belt, obviously, to my real people, but explaining to you, this might actually, they might not have to, go actually fight Jon Jones for the real belt. So I got Tom Aspinall, man. I'm very excited for this guy. I think he's going to come out. He's going to look sharp. And I think he's going to put him away in the first round like he does with everyone. The quickest fight time in the history of the sport. He's going to crack him. He's going to knock him down. He's going to get on the mic after. And he's probably not going to do the best job, but he's going to call out Jon Jones. Where are you at, Jon Jones? I can't wait for the Jon Jones exchange on Twitter. Dude, I am jacked up for this fight, man. I am excited. How do you see? I feel like you're just going to pick Blades for some reason, but talk to me. What do you see going on in this fight?
Yeah, I mean, no, this is definitely an exciting. Anytime you get high level heavyweights in the octagon, it's always fun to watch. But let's just get into this infamous run that Mr. Aspinall is on. He comes in, he beats Jake Collier, a former lightweight turned heavyweight who's gained 300 pounds in the last 5 years. Knocks out another guy, Badeau, who I've never heard of. Pretty sure he's at who knows where, maybe Subway.
It's my plumber.
Yeah. Maybe Subway. Then he goes on to fight an elite level striker in Andrei Arlovsky, a guy that's just been a
former champ,
staple of the division.
Former champ.
Actually, if you remember that fight, he's actually getting pieced up a little bit. So then he shoots for the legs like Khabib, sniffs the crotch, gets the victory. Then he takes on Sergey Spivak, a guy that Cyril Gane just mopped the floor with, and he wins there. Okay, then he fights Mr. Volkov.
He knocked him out in like 8 seconds.
Then he fights Mr. Alexander Volkov, a guy who just beat the indestructible Sergey Pavlovich, the guy that was going to dethrone Jon Jones just like Johnny Walker was. And he takes down Volkov because he's a little scared to stand on the field with him. He takes him down. He gets the victory. Props to the guy. What a tear he's on. Then he fights Curtis Blades. A leg kick gets checked. The knee goes out. And there's his loss. His third loss of his career, by the way. He's lost twice outside of the promotion. We're not going to get into that. Listen, then he fights in his return fight a huge, devastating striker in Marcin Tybura. Don't know how many times that guy's lost. Pretty sure Greg Hardy might have beat him. And then he goes on, he fights Sergey Pavlovich in an interim title fight, and he beats the guy that we just watched and have clearly seen is a very one-dimensional boxer. No kicks whatsoever, just a boxer, okay? Listen, this is all I'm going to say. I think this is listen, despite all the shit that I do talk and I mess with you, I will say that I do think Tom Aspinall is a great fighter. I think he's an elite heavyweight. I think he's this. He's probably the second or third best heavyweight in the world, in my opinion.
Who else would be second? Who's up for that?
Cyril Gain. Yes.
All right. He's like starring in Despicable Me right now, dude. He's an actor. Take.
All right, but
he had the chance to fight. He got offered this fight, and he's not fighting.
My thing with Aspinall is it's not that I don't think he's a great fighter. It's that I think people like you and in the media are juicing him up to like unbelievable measures for what? The guy has 3 losses. He's lost in the sport. I don't care if it was a fluke. It doesn't matter. He has 3 losses. The guy's beat 2 people, maybe 1 person that's fucking relevant in the sport. Like, I'm just saying, let's slow it down on saying this guy's the greatest heavyweight talent of all time. Like, bro, what are we? Like, it's disrespectful to the people who have done it before him. Stipe Miocic's resume is night and day.
Stipe has 5 losses.
Stipe, and his resume is way better than Tom Aspinall, who has 3. Okay, I don't understand.
We'll talk again. We'll have this conversation. I'm putting a pin in it on July 18th, 2034. We're going to discuss and see.
It just needs to relax, is all I'm saying. I think this is a very favorable matchup for him. I think Tom Aspinall dominates this fight. He's a 4-1 favorite, as he should be. I think he dominates the fight, keeps it on the feet, picks Blades apart, gets him out of there inside of 2 rounds.
What wouldn't be a favorable matchup for Aspinall?
There's not much more to say. What'd you say?
You're saying this is a favorable matchup? Like Curtis Blades is the worst matchup for pretty much every heavyweight.
A guy in Curtis Blades who hasn't looked good in 3 years in the sport. Don't say he looked good because you half watched his last fight and he elbowed a guy that was taking him down 8 times.
I didn't say. I literally said how he looked bad.
A guy that hasn't looked good in 3 years. A guy that is a legitimate
wait, Jon Jones?
A guy that's a legitimate wrestler, and all he does is stand and strike with strikers. I don't think that's going to end well for the guy. And I think we see Tom Aspinall cruise to a nice win here. You'll get on the podcast and say that he's the greatest heavyweight we've ever seen.
Probably.
And we'll move forward.
No, but I had a question. So you said this is a very favorable matchup. My question was, what would be a nightmare matchup for Tom Aspinall?
A guy that can match his ass. I'm not saying there's a nightmare matchup for him. I'm saying that there's other matchups that don't favor him as much as this one. Cyril Gane, Jon Jones, even Stipe Miocic. All 3 of those are much tougher matchups than a guy like Curtis Blades, who's a legitimate wrestler with no striking. He mixes in his striking. He knocks out fucking Chris Dawkins. All right. And then he goes in and fights these strikers, and he stands and trades with them at heavyweight, and he gets KO'd. We've seen it time and time again. I think we'll see it again in this one. But like I said, I'm not sitting here telling you that I don't think Tom Aspinall is a great fighter. I think he's an elite level fighter. I just the hype that you and others build around him when he's literally
building his own hype,
dude. Nate. So who's his best win? Take Volkov out. Who's his best win? I'm asking. I'm not trying to talk shit. Who's his best win?
Probably Sergey Pavlovich. Like he hasn't been so, but like who is like he hasn't been in the UFC that long. He's like 31 or 32, and he's been very vocal that he wants to fight for a while. He feels like he just reached his athletic prime. He missed like a year with a devastating knee injury. Like I'm not talking about his resume. Like it's just I know I have these glasses on, but I have very good eyesight and I can see how talented the guy is. So yeah, when you go out and knock out Sergey Pavlovich on 2 weeks notice in a minute, that's very impressive. So you're going to point to Volkov after the fact, jabbing his face off for 15 minutes. He has the fastest fight time in the history, the fastest average fight time in the history of the UFC. I'm not saying he's fighting these dogs. I'm not saying that. I've never said that. But he clearly is very talented. That's why he's finishing all these guys. So
Hebs, he's a heavyweight fighter. Of course he's going to have the fastest fight time. Like heavyweights are going to have more of the fastest fight time.
How do you spell heavyweight? All right. Well, okay. Well, take back. I didn't know he was a heavyweight, so that takes back everything I said. I don't know what that means, dude. He just goes out and he finishes everyone in a minute or two. He could be fighting me, and like that. That's still impressive. I mean, it'd be really
All right.
impressive actually. But I don't like. Like he's just gonna keep winning.
You're using a statistic of him having the fastest fight time as if that means something. He's a heavyweight. Do you not understand that heavyweights go look? I can guarantee you, heavyweights have the most knockouts in the history of the sport. The fastest, like, bro, it's obvious. There's 100, 200 pounds heavier than these guys. There's obviously going to be more knockouts and more finishes at that division.
Okay,
It's
well,
just
he's done it better than
common
any
sense.
heavyweight in the history.
Oh, but
of
you
time
just said he's
then.
only fought how many times in the UFC? But now you're trying to use that he has the quickest fight time. He's fought 6 times in the sport, like in the company. So
Okay, well, that's how it works. Then you can compare him for anyone else. He's fought more than that, but you can compare him to anyone else's 6 fights. Like, and after Saturday, he'll have 7, and then we'll have a little
actually
bit more.
incorrect. We could just go to we could just go to the newest debut guy and whoever got a knockout in their first fight and they have the quickest fight time. We could just pull that card.
Yeah, we could. That's fine with me, dude. I mean, there's a reason why Jon Jones doesn't want to fight him. So I don't know what.
Okay.
I mean, you're just discredit. You're like, oh, I will admit that he's very good. Well, like, thank you, dude. You could admit it, or you could just watch him fight. Either of those two would be great for his resume. So he's going to go out and he's going to beat another guy who's been in the top 5 of this division forever. He's probably going to make it look very easy because he's the
Same guy, yeah, the guy that Derek Lewis beat as well, yeah, an elite heavyweight. Yep.